regardless of position or whatever, whatever college they went to or their stats or where they might get drafted or what the need is. Let's just rank the top 10 players. So let's go. Why don't you start us off here? 10, 9, 8, 7. Who do you got?
We're going to keep it real simple for the people, Pat. A whole lot of Buckeyes, my 7 through 10. I'll start with the wide receiver, Carnell Tate, out of Ohio State, as my number 10 guy. Jeremiah Smith got all the headlines last year and the last couple of years, and rightfully so, but Tate is just terrific. And I mean, just look at the track record, all these Ohio State guys, man. Garrett Wilson, ASN, all these dudes that have come out. Marvin Harrison played much better this past year. Marvin Harrison Jr. It's a great, it's a college that just produces really good wide receivers. And I think this is the next really good one. Emeka Bukum, another. I just think his game is going to translate really well to Ohio State, and he got undervalued because he was playing with Jeremiah Smith. So I'll put Tate at 10. Sonny Styles, the linebacker at Ohio State, is just a freak, man. Great athlete, good against the run, but he's also good covering running backs. He can cover tight ends, which in today's NFL is so valuable. So Sonny Styles, I'll put him number 9. Arvell Reese, I'll put at number 8. I'm not as high on Reese as just about everybody else is. A lot of people have him mocked going number 2 to the Jets, which certainly could happen. I think Reese is going to be a really good player. He's terrific against the run. Another guy who's good in coverage. One of these players that coming into this past season in college football wasn't thought to be a top 10 player, but because of his tape and how great he was for the Buckeyes this year, he really jumped up on a lot of people's big boards. I have him at number 8. And then I think the best wide receiver in this class is Mekhi Lemon, and he's number 7 for me. Thought the 2 best receivers in college football this past year were Jeremiah Smith and Mekhi Lemon at USC. I think he's going to be a terrific, terrific player. So I'll put him at number 7.
Yeah, you know what? I actually don't really love any of the receivers in this draft. So I don't have any receiver in my top 10, but I agree with you 100% that I honestly, and it would be very Jets if they draft him and he turns into a bust, but I don't really see the hype about Arvell Reese. I mean, I do, right? And don't get me wrong. There are some players that I'll mention here, and I'll mention what they did at the Combine because it was just absurd, otherworldly, doesn't make human physical sense to do some of the things these guys did. But it feels like for Arvell Reese, it was almost solely he's launched himself up into the top 3 because of what he did at the Combine. Ran a 4.46 40-yard dash, had great measurables. But this is a guy that, for somebody that's supposed to be a hybrid, can play linebacker and can also play edge rusher. Can come off the edge. He only had 6.5 sacks this year. And he only had 69 tackles. He only had 2 pass deflections, didn't have an interception, didn't force a fumble. So it was look, I get it. Some of that is part of Ohio State's scheme. I just don't really get the whole, Arvell Reese is guaranteed to go 2 to the Jets. But, I mean, if they take him, hopefully he turns out great. And, I've a lot of preparation, a lot of reading up on Arvell Reese too. I keep seeing a lot of people comparing him to Abdul Carter. And it's is that the player you want to be compared to after his rookie season with the Giants, where he's sleeping in meetings and didn't necessarily have a great year on the field? So I don't know. Arvell Reese for me, I have him at 10. I absolutely see all the hype. I mean, 6'4", 240 pounds, built like an Adonis. But I'm a little bit skeptical on how quickly his game is going to translate to the NFL. Number 9 for me, Dylan Thieneman, safety from Oregon. Now, I love this kid, and I love what he did at the Combine. Again, he basically was right at the top of the board in just about everything: the 40-yard dash, the vertical, the long jump, or whatever the hell they call it, broad jump. And then you look at what he did for the Oregon Ducks here this past season: 2 interceptions, 92 tackles. He had a sack, a guy that can kind of play all around the place. He was a punt returner as well when he was with Purdue and had over 100 tackles in both of those seasons. Had 6 interceptions a couple of years ago with the Boilermakers. So I think Dylan Thieneman is going to end up being one of the best players in this class. Got a lot of love for Dylan Thieneman, and I think he is just a pure athlete that's going to play really, really well in the NFL. Number 8 for me, best offensive tackle in the draft, Caden Proctor, the absolute mauler from Alabama, 6'7", 370 pounds. PJ, you know him. I'm sure you know him well. I just think flat out he just is going to steamroll people for a living here. And then number 7 for me is Kenyon Sadiq, who I freaking love, and I've fallen in love with him. Not somebody that I knew a ton about going into the draft process, but the more and more film and his highlights that I watch, a 4.40 in the 40-yard dash and a 43-inch vertical for a guy that's 6'3", 240 pounds, built like a tight end, runs like a receiver, and the numbers he put up this year for Oregon, 560 yards and 8 touchdowns. I think he's going to immediately become a red zone threat for whoever takes him. I think he should be a top 10 pick. And so I think he's the 7th best player in the draft. All right, 6 through 3. Who do you got?
Go with Fernando Mendoza at number 6, likely going to be the number 1 pick to Vegas. I think he's the 6th best player on my big board. Really good quarterback, can make all the throws, very smart, better athlete than he gets credit for. My biggest question for Mendoza is obviously when you go to the Raiders, you're not going to have a great offensive line, and you're going to have to make a lot of broken and unscripted plays. Can you elevate and make others around you better when the system and the culture that you're in isn't great? When you're at Indiana, you're being coached by arguably the best coach in the sport. Everybody is so fundamentally sound. They know their assignments. They know what they're doing. Everything is so crisp. I mean, when you go to the Raiders, man, as we know, that organization has been a disaster. They have one of the worst offensive lines in football. So this is the thing. I mean, when you're the number 1 pick, number 2, number 4 pick, you're going to a bad team in a bad situation with a bad quarterback, with a bad offensive line normally, and, a bad coaching staff and those kinds of things. I think Mendoza is going to be a good player. I'm not high on him like a lot of other people are, but I'll put him at number 6. I'll take the big offensive tackle from Miami, Francis Mauigoa, at number 5. Just think I think he's the best offensive lineman. You made a good case for Proctor, and I love him, and I love his game a lot. I just think Mauigoa's the best one that we have in this class. I think he's the safest pick on the offensive side of the ball. I think he's going to be an absolute stud. Ruben Bain for me is going to be number 4. And I just haven't gotten, Pat, through this whole process why he has just slipped down draft boards. Oh, for a while there, a lot of people thought he was going to go top 3. A lot of people thought he was going to go top 5. Now a bunch of people don't even think he's going to go in the top 10. I just don't understand it, man. Like, maybe the combine numbers and the measurables aren't all that great and everything. Turn on the film. Look at what this dude did in the college football playoff, going up against A&M, Ohio State, Ole Miss, Indiana. He stood out as much as any other player did in any of those games that he was playing. I think he's a one-man wrecking crew. Love Ruben Bain at number 4. But I like a pass rusher, just one pass rusher, just a little bit better in this class, and that is David Bailey out of Texas Tech. I think he is a star. If I was the Jets at number 2, it would be David Bailey for me. If you're looking for a pass rusher, I think he's the best one. So give me David Bailey at number 3.
Yeah, you mentioned Ruben Bain. You have him at number 4. I got him at number 6. And again, we do this every year. Last year it was Will Campbell with the dinosaur arms and the T-Rex arms, the short arms. This year it's Ruben Bain. But man, this guy, he is mean. He is nasty. And, look, like you said, just put on the tape and watch what he did. And I think the fact that he can get after the quarterback, 9.5 sacks, also 1 forced fumble, also had an interception. He affects the run as well. And so I think that he brings a lot of versatility. I would be surprised if he falls out of the top 10. If he is there at 10, I think the Cincinnati Bengals would be stupid if they don't grab him. For me, number 5, Sonny Styles from Ohio State. And again, kind of a do-it-all linebacker, 83 tackles this past season, 3 pass breakups, a sack, a forced fumble, and an interception. Had 100 tackles the year before that, and a guy that just lit up the charts with what he did at the combine. 4.4, 640-yard dash, 43.5-inch vertical, 11'2" broad jump, and 6'5", 250 pounds. Like, he's a freak. If he can stay healthy, I can't imagine he's not going to be a starting middle linebacker this year in the NFL. Number 4 for me is David Bailey. The 14.5 sacks speak for themselves at Texas Tech. He's going to be the number 1 edge rusher. He's probably going to go in the top 4 in this draft. And I think David Bailey is going to make an immediate impact in the NFL. And then I got Mendoza as the 3rd best player in this draft. You're a little bit lower on him than I am. You kind of pointed out, Curt Cignetti. Well, maybe part of what made Curt Cignetti is, Fernando Mendoza playing as as phenomenal as he did, and the fact that he had some mediocre, if you will, games in the middle of the season. The game on the road at Oregon, despite the fact that they won by 10, he wasn't great in that one. He wasn't good at all really in the Big Ten title game against Ohio State. But then all of a sudden we get to the college football playoff and he lit Alabama up. He lit Oregon up and he played gritty and he played tough as hell, and he showed why he's got the intangibles to be an NFL quarterback in the win against Miami. The running touchdown, not turning the football over, taking care of it, taking what the Miami defense gave him. So I do think Mendoza, even if this is next year's draft or a draft that has a loaded quarterback class, I still think he's the best of the bunch. He's the best player on the best team in the country, and he was the Heisman, and he put up record-breaking numbers. So third best player in the draft for me. Second best player in the draft, who would you have that as?
For me, it's going to be Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love. I thought about putting him at number one. I think he's pretty much going to be a top 5 pick. I would be really surprised if the Giants pass him up if he's available at 5 and he goes down the board. I think he's going to go 4. He's going to go 5 to Arizona. Heck, maybe even Arizona 3 takes a look at him, but Tennessee or the Giants, I think, probably take a stab at him. He's a superstar. I think anybody that watched college football knows how good Jeremiah Love is. He does everything well. He's a great running back. He's a great receiving back. He's got game-breaking speed. He breaks tackles. He's great on the goal line, good on third down. He's a good pass blocker. Checks everything off. And normally, these teams that reach for these running backs that fall in love with these guys in the top end of the draft, whether it's the Bijans, the Zekes, the Barkleys of the world, the Adrian Petersons. I mean, these guys usually pan out to be pretty good. And I think Jeremiah Love is going to fall into that category. So he's going to be number 2 for me.
I agree with everything you said, and I have him at number 2 as well. I'll just give you, in the last 2 years for Notre Dame, for my Fighting Irish, Jeremiah Love, in the last 2 years combined, 2,500 rushing yards and 35 rushing touchdowns, and then 500 receiving yards to go with 5 receiving touchdowns. So 3,000 yards from scrimmage and 40 touchdowns in the last 2 years combined. That is earth-shattering, just eye-popping, unbelievable numbers. The one thing I want to push back on, if he's, I almost hope Jeremiah Love is gone by 5. I hope the Titans take him. And I hope that they think that, all right, pass-catching running back. And he really hasn't even shown off how good of a pass catcher he can be because Notre Dame just used him primarily in the run game. But like I said, he did have, over 240 receiving yards each of the last 2 seasons, a couple receiving touchdowns. But, again, Jahmyr Gibbs, he keeps getting the comp from Jahmyr Gibbs. And we know how great Jahmyr Gibbs is in the passing game. Probably just as good as he is running the football just straight up because of what he can do after the catch. And I hope that Tennessee, who is not a running back away, but they think that, okay, a guy that can be like a Jahmyr Gibbs or like a Devon Achane, like that's kind of 2 positions for us in one foul swoop, 2 birds with 1 stone, because the Titans don't have good receivers either. They need to help out Cam Ward as much as they can. I hope the Titans take him. I hope the Cardinals take him, because if he's there at 5, PJ, and the Giants take him, I'm going to explode. I'm going to lose it, man. I'm starting to have nightmares about it. Like, I woke up today in a panic because I could have swore I heard Roger Goodell say, the New York Giants select Jeremiah Love. And I'm a Notre Dame guy, so I love him. But the Giants do not need a running back. They have Cam Scatterbo. I get he's coming back from injury. If the Giants draft Jeremiah Love, have they not learned from when they took Saquon Barkley? Please. It would make so much sense if it was Joe Shane making the pick too. I hope John Harbaugh just steps on Joe Shane in the draft room and says, we're not taking a running back. Let's take Caleb Downs, because that's my number 1 player, PJ, and I know you feel the same. I think Caleb Downs is the next Kyle Hamilton. I think he's the best player in this draft. That's who I want the Giants to take at 5. But you agree, Caleb Downs, best player in the draft, and he might not go until number 9 or number 10.
I mean, you said it, Kyle Hamilton. And what's funny is Kyle Hamilton, the year he got drafted, dropped all the way to 14. And the Ravens, who said at the time they thought there was no world in which he would drop to them at 14, just fell right into their lap. And I think the same thing could happen this year where Caleb Downs could inexplicably fall out of the top 10 into somebody's lap and they wind up with the best player in the draft. I can't believe where some of these people are mocking him to go. I get, he's a safety and there are great edges in this class and you got running backs and offensive linemen, all these sorts of things. But I agree, Pat. I think he's Kyle Hamilton, man. And I would not pass taking that guy.
All right, good. We are complete agreement there. Jeremiah Love, number 2. Caleb Downs, the best player in this draft, according to me and PJ.